Welcome to Laid Back Law with your favorite lawyers from around the interwebs, discussing the most pressing of topics every Friday at noon Eastern Time.
All right. If there is only some news this week,
what are we going to talk about?
I know I have no idea what's going on. Wait. I guess I'm in an arrest this morning. I don't know which way we want to go on it. I feel like the story is moving so fast that I'm just trying to keep a hold or, stay floating in the current. Obviously, Charlie Kirk was assassinated on Wednesday. A horrible incident. Folks, please do not look for the footage. It is out there. It is on X and is very graphic. I'm just telling you ahead of time. If you want to harm your psyche, go watch it, but don't. I really don't recommend it. You can hear about it. You know enough. It's horrifying. That's all I can say. And I'm happy to see that a suspect has been arrested. I think there's obviously much more information that will probably have to come out in the next days and weeks. And I had said before, Nate, you can confirm this, that I had a bad feeling this might be another Thomas Crooks, and I don't feel like I'm that far off. It appears at the moment it is a young man, very intelligent by what I see, super high ACT scores, things like that. And somehow he's been radicalized. We have to figure out what the hell is going on here. I'm not going to be forgiving this guy at all. I just want to know what is causing this kind of radicalization, because we have a giant problem. Okay, with us today, we have Sean, potentially criminal. We have Phil, who managed to break away from Fox to show up here. Fox, Megan Kelly. Phil is kind of like our resident superstar. We have the Rumble Giant, but not in real life, Viva Frei. We have some overseas correspondents coming in from Sweden with Nick Staro. And we have the illustrious Nate the Lawyer. So everybody, thank you so much for coming by. I don't know who wants to take this. I'm going to start with one question. Have any of you met Charlie Kirk in person?
I got mutual friends, and he actually followed me on X, and we'd actually exchanged a couple of DMs, but that's about it. No, I mean, it was just an awful, crime. And you're right, that video is horrific. And I've got some experience with firearms. I'm not professing to be an expert, but I came up in law enforcement. I came up hunting and shooting in South Georgia in the woods a lot. And so when I saw this thing,
you're an expert.
What'd you say? Yeah, I'm a redneck, right? So when I saw this, I have a friend who was actually there on the front row, and he posted something to a group chat that I'm in, and he was there with his kids. And, he's like, holy crap, there's, Charlie Kirk's just been shot. And that was like within seconds is when he put it. And so then, of course, the whole thing blew up. And then once the video started circulating, it is horrible. And I'll just say this about it and I'll leave it alone. But when I saw the video of that rifle shot, I knew immediately that it was not a survivable type of a wound. And then you hear everybody saying, oh, well, AP is reporting that he's in the hospital and critical condition. Well, they took JFK to the hospital too, right? So just because he was taken to a hospital doesn't move the needle. I saw what I saw, and I knew it was sadly not survivable. And we fast forward to today, and we know that it was a 22-year-old college student who had been messaging with people on Discord. I don't know if it was before or after or during. Clearly, there's more investigation that needs to take place, but we can dispense with the wild conspiracy theories. I believe that I'm confident saying that. Whether there was a, quote, legal conspiracy is another question, because as we all know, a conspiracy means two people acting together in some form to commit a crime. So it doesn't have to be some wild and crazy thing. If somebody helped him get the gun, that would be a conspiracy. If someone placed the gun somewhere at a drop point like they talked about. That would potentially be a conspiracy. So we have other investigation that needs to take place to see if there was anyone else involved in the scheme, but it doesn't seem to be very elaborate or complicated. It's just a wacko who got radicalized apparently on Discord and other places and decided to commit just a terrible act of violence.
Can we talk about that for a second, Phil, too? Because, okay, I was in the Army, and, there may be other people, who are in or whatever. A lot of people are like, oh, my God, this is a professionally trained sniper, etc. This is not a pro. It was obviously not a pro. That is not the hardest shot in the world.
No.
If you have a good, decent rifle and the time in the Army, you have to qualify on a range. And at the range, you're going to shoot like, it's been a minute, but 50 meters, 100 meters, 200 to up to 500. That is actually a lower level qualification shot that if you're missing, you're not even going to qualify in the Army for a sharp, for a batch. So I want to clarify that because a lot of people are spreading it out. I also talked to a sniper, Lynn Westover on the side. He helped me with the, unfortunately, very similar. It was fortunately an attempt on Donald Trump when we went to Butler. We visited the site and everything else. He told me right away this is not professional because a professional would have taken a second shot. Also would not have been doing it in broad daylight in front of the people. Wouldn't have been a neck shot. Anyway, a lot of things. But I just kind of want to put that out there because that leads to this being a nut job. I mean, I don't know what the best way to describe it, but somebody.
I just want to clarify that it was not a neck shot. A lot of people, I had that first reaction also. It was a shot to the chest. If you watch it at 1/4 speed, you'll see his shirt actually lurch upward. He was apparently wearing a vest.
No, he wasn't.
I don't know, Joe.
He wasn't. He wasn't wearing a vest. There's some close-up shots.
Let me finish my point. Let me just finish my point.
Okay,
All right, we'll do it Charlie Kirk style. So, what I'm saying is, what you see is if you watch in slow motion, the shirt jerks upward, and you could see the blood actually coming up as if it's coming out from underneath a vest. That it was meant for a handgun. This is what I've heard, and this is consistent with what I've seen. The blood is not coming from his neck; that it's actually spurting up off the top of his vest, and that's why it looks like it's coming from. It looks like it's coming from there. Watching 1/4 speed, I know we can't watch it here on YouTube, but if you watch in 1/4 speed, the impact looks as if you can see his shirt literally just lurch upward really quickly. And watching 1/4 speed, you'll see that that's what's happening. The blood is not coming from a wound in the jugular, the way I thought it was, many of us thought it was, but that it's actually coming from below. That's why I'm telling you, he was wearing a vest that was meant to stop handgun bullets, not rifle bullets.
Yeah, I got a different take on that.
No, go ahead.
Can I answer now?
Please do. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Your show.
Okay, here you go. If you look at the shot, there's a nipple. There's another shot which shows this cross coming off the side. Another nipple. There is no hanging there. There's other shots that do show pretty clearly a shirt on him with no vest. There are others I can produce, but I had seen that, Joe, and that's why I wanted to immediately point that out. Also, from what I've seen, all medical responses, etc., all news reports, everything else said neck, didn't say chest, didn't say come up, said neck. I saw the footage as well. A carotid or a jugular shot, again, I believe would produce the same stuff. I'm not trying to jump all over you.
I want to get accurate information. I'm looking to mislead anyone. I'm not looking to be proven right. That's to me. That's how.
Yeah, vest. Even if it was one of those low profile, like executive style vest, and I don't think it was because I could see like in some of the video of him immediately preceding, he's walking around and you can see
he's got
nipples.
You can see
nipples and all that.
Right, you do see nipple. That's true.
And so I think that when a bullet's traveling, it's hypersonic, and so there's a pressure wave around it, and it even makes a sonic boom. Right, that's why you hear the crack. But so this pressure wave could take that shirt and make it.
It would have fluffed.
Make it kind of fluff, and you can literally see, like this wound here opening up, in a matter of a second or two. and it probably hit the carotid artery as well as the jugular. And to me, it looked like it was a shot that hit here and probably exited the back of his neck or something like that. I mean, we'll know for sure when we get the autopsy, but I don't think there was any kind of entrance in the chest. That's my take.
No.
Okay. All right. Look, look. If you guys are correct, I'm trying to just piece together based on the limited information we have. Again, I'm not looking.
Yeah.
I want to present that side, but you're presenting. This is a great picture. This is a great picture for showing he's not wearing a vest.
Also, mildly irrelevant. The guy might have been going for a chest torso shot and pulled up, or he might have been going for a head shot and pulled down.
Where are you shooting from? Sure.
So
absolutely.
The question is from the press conference when they were talking about a Discord server and a pickup drop-off point for the gun. I couldn't tell if that was before or after the shooting.
Right.
And if it was before, I hope the roommate is in custody as well. If it's after, then you might say, well, he told me to pick it up to cover up for the crime. But
I think it was after, because he said that he left the gun behind in a towel. That's one of the things that the governor mentioned when they did their press
left
conference.
behind. Not sure if I found it a little ambiguous as to what.
And I think the governor said that, David, I agree with you. It was ambiguous. The governor was kind of emotional. Obviously, he hadn't had a lot of sleep, and so you got to take all this into consideration. And he's not law enforcement, so I would have preferred law enforcement to address this. But it almost seemed like the roommate was receiving messages, but the roommate was also somehow able to show law enforcement messages on Discord between our bad guy and some other third party discussing the rifle. That's how I took it.
I may have something on that is a factor. The FBI released footage, and let me grab it, which could imply a gun pickup. And the reason is that if you look at the FBI footage, I'm pulling up right now, please be patient. When he's coming off the roof, it appears he does not have a gun. So it is entirely possible that he could have thrown it or left it or put it somewhere. But let's look at the footage and see what you think.
This is also the biggest tell that this is amateur hour. If you're a professional, you're not just jumping off the roof and risking breaking your leg or breaking your ankle.
Yeah.
Right. I agree.
And the ultimate thing is, I get people want to find a conspiracy because it's utterly terrifying that just some guy is going to start randomly smoking people like this, and you want it to be a conspiracy because, that's the only way they could kill. No, guy worked up a plan probably in the course of like 2 weeks or so, decided he was going to do this, and made it happen. Like it's that simple, like very likely.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this event was called out. What was it? 6 days before. So.
Oh yes, so a lot.
So it was easy plan. Matter of fact, there was a book written about it one day before.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that too. We'll talk about really quickly. As a matter of fact, it almost seems like there could be a gun up there in this video, right there. Is that? Is that a gun left on the roof?
No, he said they said they found the gun. He dropped
in the forest.
Yeah, he
in
dropped
a wooded area nearby.
Yeah,
how did he get there?
He's
from
got
the
the
roof?
gun. He's got the gun now. When he jumps down, and he's going to.
Does he? Hold on. Keep watching. Keep watching, because where is it?
Somebody said it might be like
he's
in that bag. In that bag.
Yeah,
Or in that bag.
Yeah,
Is
you can see him.
He's got a bag there.
Is that a bag big enough for a gun?
But the bag, but the rifle.
I don't know. I mean, this is a rifle.
The rifle,
it's a little long.
The pictures of the rifle they found is not one that's meant for.
And what is that there that he left on the roof?
I mean, a Mauser 3006 is a big gun. If he had it, you would have seen it. In my opinion.
Well, he's obviously carrying something, but I don't know. I don't
know.
No,
he has a backpack, Nate.
I don't know why the police would lie and say we found it in the forest. And
I don't think they're lying. I just think.
Well, they said a wooded area, Nate. I mean, look, what's that? That's a wooded area.
No, it's not. I don't think that's what they mean.
I think you're just trying.
He didn't even go there. He didn't even go. If you follow the rest of his path, he doesn't walk near those trees.
Yeah, he doesn't
no, but he could have chucked it off the side, Joe.
Where's this?
I've heard theories that he had it in his pants leg, like concealed, like going down. His long
the video of him walking in shows him. That's how he brought it in.
Which is funny though, Phil. I mean, how many rifles have you seen that you could jam down your pant leg and shirt? I mean, it's a 30-06, and it's not a new one.
Well, I mean, I've never tried, but I guess if I had baggy enough pants and I was really needing to disguise it, I could.
I'm just saying, as someone who's been in law enforcement, and I went through the training, what they do, they have somebody come up, right, for the search training. They have somebody come up in the front of the room who's just dressed in like regular clothing, and they say, "How many weapons do you think this person has?"
Mhm.
And this person pulls out like 9 handguns from all different places, and then the person pulls out this big ass shotgun, and then
yeah.
because the person's wearing baggy clothes. So yes, you can definitely conceal stuff.
There's a video of that
And that's
actually.
like, then they pull out guns and rifles. So it's just because the baggy clothes is usually the thing they tell you to look for, especially in hot weather. If somebody's wearing overly baggy clothes, that's a big tell that there may be a rifle or something in those clothes.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a stretch.
Like I said, the press conference left as many or more questions than it answered, because I found it to be very dissatisfying, because honestly, everything that they told us at the presser had already been leaked to the media by, I guess, law enforcement sources. And so while we were waiting on this presser, it was an hour delayed. Various news outlets credibly came out and gave us the name and pictures of the guy and all this stuff. So I don't think we really learned a lot, but it does raise a lot of questions. I mean, where exactly was the bag? I mean, the gun, and like what we're talking about, how did he get it off the roof? And who was he communicating with? Did he have any help after is there an accessory after the fact, which wouldn't be a co-conspirator, but it could be a helper?
People were posting, unless, you never know what to believe if these are blue sky posts, but people were posting something big is going to happen tomorrow. Like this Discord sounds like a place where kids were getting radicalized.
Right. It is.
And so we'll see. It sounds like that roommate was in on Discord messages that showed advanced knowledge of something and advanced coordination of something. At least in retrospect. Or we didn't know what he meant when he said he's going to get Charlie or whatever. But
maybe it's good. I hate to support law enforcement on all of it, but if there is a Discord and there's something going on, I hope they have a bunch of undercovers in there right now chatting away to maybe roll up some of the creeps that are coming up with things. Well, maybe they're deliberately not.
I hope it's not undercovers who started it.
Well, that's the thing. Then you get into a Gretchen Whitmer. You're gonna have hey, let's start a Discord. Let's bring a bunch of mentally unwell people into it. But for our organizing it, the Whitmer kidnapping never happened.
So what do you feel about Charlie Kirk? And here it is. Now it's all goes to hell.
Yeah.
That might be. There are some very effective undercover FBI officers out.
I have some encouraging news with respect to the fact that, the governor seems very adamant about, charging this as a state crime. I'm not sure if there are any federal crimes associated with it. And I think we're going to get to see the trial. I was actually looking up on Grok the policy in Utah of live streaming, criminal trials, and they say that even their federal trials in Utah will be live streamed. Oh. So yeah, this would be a trial that I think millions of people are going to want to watch. And I'm certainly looking forward. I'm sure all of us are looking forward to covering this, because we want to see this guy be held accountable. And the governor said that he's going to be looking for the death penalty.
But I'm going to ask you. I do want to ask you though. The rest, everybody here, is that what are the chances he pleads out?
High.
I don't see how you cannot.
He better survive.
You can always plead guilty.
Yeah, I'm saying I think the probability of him pleading out is going to be pretty high. Well, with all the evidence, unless
you can plead guilty and have a trial on sentencing only. Because I'm assuming the plea would encompass I'll stay in jail forever, because I don't see how you avoid the death penalty. The guy's kind of dead to rights here. It looks like factually. Unless there's some kind of a
they had Koberger, dead to rights. So what are you going to do?
That's right.
I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure to not accept. The only people I think you could say who could push it through is if Charlie Kirk's widow said, "Please."
Eric froze up.
Yep.
I think I can see.
I think he's saying Charlie Kirk's widow pleads to
Eric, you froze and nobody heard.
Yeah, I was trying to say what you said, but say it again, sorry. Eric. We didn't hear anything you said.
I think that the only person who might be able to persuade to not go for the death penalty would be Charlie Kirk's widow, and I don't know if that would happen. I think that there's a pretty heavy demand in this case for it. And
and ironically, they have firing squads as their method.
I've talked about that. That is actually the most appropriate punishment, in my opinion, for him to sit there and dream or have nightmares every night thinking about that bullet that is coming for him.
I want to I want to respond. There's someone in the comments. K1F8 is asking what happened to the presumption of innocence. Well, we're not saying that nobody gets a presumption of innocence. I think all of us here, we're lawyers. We certainly understand that, and so legally, he is presumed.
He's a pain in the ass.
He is presumed innocent, but that doesn't mean we can't discuss the facts that we see with our own eyes here. I mean, so.
And can we talk about something really quickly, because those remarks annoy the shit out of me. We're talking about him going to a trial.
Yeah. Which
that whole thing called a trial comes in between whatever the punishment is. So that's kind of a bullshit statement.
Well, the punishment
to come out with.
The punishment is also predicated on the guilt. If it turns out they
in a trial,
if they got the wrong guy or he didn't pull the trigger, then no death penalty for him.
None of us are screaming, "Let's kill Tyler." That's not. You would never hear any of us saying something like that.
Have you heard? I've seen now the video saying that this was the guy, one of the guys. They're pulling up a bunch who had previously asked Charlie a question at a prior event, and I've seen that they've done it to 2 or 3 people, and I don't know if this guy was actually one of the 3.
Hold on, I got to address this one too. No, I did not say the presumption of innocence is a pain in the ass. I said the individual is a pain in the ass.
Questions,
and he will acknowledge. I know who K1 is.
Is that Mark in disguise?
And this is K1 and Fate. He knows.
Oh my God.
So,
I mean, of course, there's presumption of innocence, because what defenses do they have? Is the radicalization of him? Can you use that as a defense that others made him do it? I mean, there are many points of defense for this guy, and we still only heard one part of the story. There's a ton of information that we don't know. Now,
I think the more information we get, though, it's going to be worse for him. It's going to be worse for him.
Yeah.
The only conceivable defense is other than it wasn't me, it was some other guy, but I think they're going to have DNA, and I think they're going to have all kinds of stuff proving that it was him up on that roof. And unlike, with JFK, we got clear video of him up on the roof and nobody else around. So, it could be like, theoretically, I'm just hypothesizing, you could have like some kind of diminished capacity, like not maybe insanity, maybe some kind of something a little bit less than insanity. But I think you'd have to focus your defense on whether he had the mental state necessary to be.
There's precedence. There's precedence for what Nick said, by the way, and I'll push back on it immediately. Have you ever heard of Charles Manson? Did you know that Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, they all got the death penalty? Now, it got overturned by the Supreme Court because of what happened, but every one of them were given the death penalty, and their defense was, "Hey, Charlie made me do it. He was the ultimate guru. It was the ultimate mind control." So even if somebody did tell him to do it, he didn't have to do it.
And the only reason their sentences got commuted was because the Supreme Court issued a nationwide moratorium.
Exactly.
And so they just commuted all, and it's been since reinstated.
Oh, and Sirhan too. His defense
it wasn't that their particular cases got reversed by the Supreme Court.
One thing I think is very interesting in this case, though, with this guy on the roof, is that the first thing they said, they have palm prints. And I remember there was a case that they used to teach us about, where there was somebody was robbing banks, and they would write the notes. But when they write the notes, they would make sure to not get their fingerprints on the paper, but they would always like put their palm on the paper to write. Mm-hmm. So they didn't know that palm prints are just as good as fingerprints. So if you get somebody's palm print, and that's why I think they can link this guy, if his palm print
and
was
DNA
all over the place, though, and
the sweat and the DA with the palm print too.
But a lot of people think it's only fingerprints. No, it's your palm print can identify you too.
All true, and very effectively. I mean, I think there's only one case where they found identical fingerprints, and that was a crazy one.
A lot of people are looking at this event as a watershed moment and questioning whether it's going to be for the nation to start to heal, or for us to, God forbid, spiral completely out of control and devolve into violence and chaos. And I actually am very hopeful that the rapid job that law enforcement did in apprehending the person who's believed to be the killer might be very helpful towards sedating the feelings, the emotional of retribution that many on the right may be feeling, and there still is anger. Don't get me wrong. We're all furious about the fact that this happened, but the need for retribution, I'm hopeful, is in some way calmed by the fact that his killer, or who we believe to be his killer, has been apprehended, and that perhaps this can be a watershed moment where we sort of start waking up into like what we're doing. And I know a lot of people on the right are going to say that the violence always comes from the left. I know people are going to think that. And there's certainly a ton of evidence. I would struggle to refute that. In fact, I think there's a lot of psychological reasons why it would be far more likely to come from the left, given the nature of their arguments, the target audience being, and rooting in emotion, which is more of a leading towards violence rather than reason. However, that doesn't mean that there isn't a potential for similar craziness coming from the right side of the aisle. And the idea of calling out evil and what we perceive to be evil and identifying the sin rather than the sinner is something that I think could be a helpful way that we could help build Charlie's legacy through his death. I mean, his phenomenal legacy he had in life could be built through his death. If in fact this is a watershed moment towards us becoming a somewhat healthier nation and less divided somehow.
I hope you're right, Joe. My wife always tells me that I am the ultimate pessimist, but I do hope that you're right. I hope that I hope it'll break the right way.
I think this is going to depend on the reactions of people commenting, Joe, because there are good people responding, or people responding in a good way. Like Ezra Klein wrote an excellent editorial in the New York Times saying that Charlie Kirk was doing politics the right way. And there are people on the left. I mean, Cenk Uygur, of all people, was out there saying, what are you doing? This is the worst.
No, and, what he said is we're all at risk now. So it was self-preservation.
Well, okay. You know what? I hate to go right in and to say, okay, well, let me attack the attention. Are the words correct? Is it an awful or bad thing? Those are good responses. But then you have the psychos out there who are spitting forth some really bad, they obviously Matthew O'Dowd, immediately, and now he's been fired. So I think a lot of it's going to be dictated by how the response is. From my understanding, I don't know if it's true or not, the kid is part of the DSA, and they may be on their back foot. If you tie a direct tie to leftist philosophy and things like that, some of them might tone it down really quickly because
explain that, Eric. You said the kids in the DSA,
Democrat Socialist Association.
Yeah, Democrat Socialist Association, which is Bernie Sanders, AOC. That doesn't mean they support it, and Bernie actually did release a statement disavowing it. My point is that if you have these ties there, sometimes, it's like if a crazy person who is a super MAGA or whatever was to do something like this, a lot of MAGA would be like, we don't want that, we disavow, and that will help calm things down. I'm hoping that'll be the response.
Bullshit. They disavow it and they cry about it, and they are all bleeding heart liberals after a Republican is dead. I mean, that's the way it works.
Performance.
We're so sorry. We spent 10 years calling you Nazis and far-right extremists, and now let's tone down the rhetoric after we murder you. Go fuck yourselves. I'm sorry. They all of their disingenuous bullshit apologies right now. They're like, oh yeah, okay, we got what we wanted now. Let's tone it down now. And if you guys act up again, well, then we'll go for another 5 years of rhetoric. Another one of you gets killed. You guys don't go burning down cities after you get murdered, like we do when we claim that some career criminal got killed by the cop. No, but we know you guys don't respond with violence. We're so sorry for you. McCain was a great Republican. So was George W. Bush.
So what's the response then, David?
And this
what is the appropriate? What do you recommend as a good response is going to help? Using your what you laid out as a premise.
What's going to help is putting all of these pieces of shit on proverbial political blast, social media blast. They want to go and dance around after Charlie Kirk gets murdered. Okay. You can get fired from your job. The rag shit pieces up in Canada want to say like, oh, Charlie Kirk. What do they say? To hell with Charlie Kirk from Cult Montreal. If they need to be put on blast, and if the backlash for even the so-called libs, the so-called Democrats, is not one of stern condemnation, you know that they are just shedding crocodile tears like the hypocrites that they are.
I want to ask you a question then, okay? Because I think that I was repulsed by people like Liz Warren who used Charlie's death as an opportunity to say we need tighter gun restriction, which is basically, I felt, pissing on his corpse before he was buried, because everything about his life was about freedom of Second Amendment rights. And she's using his death as an opportunity to try and curtail everything he spent his entire life fighting for. I thought that was really gross. But I similarly think it's gross to basically take his death, and some people on the right are doing this, and I'm not saying you are, Viva, but I do think some people on the right are taking this as a call for violence and retribution, which is also exactly the opposite of everything.
But no, Eric, I mean,
am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Well, you're wrong, because nobody on the right is. Nobody on the right.
Context.
That's actually not true, David. I have seen some of it is more in private communications, but there absolutely are people on the right, and I don't want to amplify it, who are saying who are on, and some of them are armed, and some of them are a little edgy.
Private communications. Good. Nobody knows who you're talking about, what you're talking about, and that's not a call to violence. If your private communications might be shedding rage that you wouldn't say publicly, the ones that I have not heard any prominent right-wing figures calling for violence. There are people saying it's war, which it quite clearly is. Can you bring up Rock's "So cancel culture is back" comment? It's the left arrow on the sign. So cancel. If you support terrorism and you vocally cheer for terrorism, it's not cancel culture to get fired from your job as a nurse. If you support terrorism, it's not cancel culture to get fired from your job as a professor. You want to actually promote domestic terrorism and celebrate it, and then say, "Don't fire me because it's cancel culture." That's not what cancel culture is. Cancel culture is getting canceled 10 years later for a stupid anti-Asian tweet you made 10 years ago.
If I could shamelessly invite people to check out my Twitter feed, X feed at Phil Holloway ESQ. Last night, I had a series of quotes and repost things about different companies that are responding publicly because they've had employees that were called out for cheering on the death of Charlie Kirk. And so these HR departments are trying to come in and do damage control. And so some of the points that I was making is like, look, these HR departments are going to be really, really busy because there's so much of this going on, whether it's a school district, a pharmaceutical company, or an airline. I think Delta Airlines got nailed. There's just so much of it that people are very busy on social media identifying people who are cheering on this murder, and they're letting their employers know about it. And people are already getting fired. But there's a mountain. I mean, it's like, how are you gonna process? If you're HR, how are you going to process all the complaints about all the people on the left that are out there cheering this shit on?
But
I do.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Nate.
Well, go ahead, because my view may be a little different than the group's.
I think that we can. I think we can take heart from the fact that even MSNBC, which is basically an outlet that was created to spew leftist propaganda, I don't think they even purport to be news. Even they fired Matthew Dowd for what he said. To me, that's a very inspirational type of reflection as to what the potential for this moment is. That
Can
people
I be cynical now?
You can be cynical. Look, Phil over here says he's very pessimistic. I'm perhaps too optimistic, where I say, glass is not just half full, but there are clouds forming, which might overflow from rain. That's my perspective. That doesn't mean that I can be hopeful, but I try to be hopeful but realistic. And what I'm saying is, I'm not saying this will happen, but there's potential for this to actually turn in a way that's very positive. And that can only happen if people on the left actually start waking up to just how damaging or potential for damage comes from this. And the fact that MSNBC, you're right, they are dancing. There are some like that, and there's some on the right, and there's some on the right. People look, Viva, this is my point. There's some on the woke right who are basically, as soon as this happened, Israel did it, right? I mean, you see the lunatics on the lunatics on the right doing the lunacy on the right, and some of the lunatics on the left are doing the lunacy on the left. But there are some people from both sides of the aisle, which this can be encouraging, watching who are actually using this as a moment to reflect and say, no, you know what, this is getting like really screwed up. And I think that if we can try and turn this culture into mockery and derision of those who celebrate violence, those who are continually screaming fascist, so it's recognized as that's not an argument. You actually have to express yourself and your concepts in words rather than just using slurs as a try to defend yourself. If we can start turning in that direction, I do think that this has potential. I'm not saying it will turn out this way, that it will manifest this way, but it definitely has potential for this to be a moment for some people on the left and even the more mature people on the right to basically say, you know what, let's get back to actual political debate rather than attacking everyone is just saying, well, you're evil. Everyone knows you're evil. Because you're
what I wanted to point out, Joe, when I was saying the cynical, I'm just going to point out one part of the MSNBC that I think is important and they should be ashamed about it is when I saw that they had apologized and terminated Dowd or said Dowd apologized, I went looking on the MSNBC feed and I was like, I can't find it. Let me find that original post. I found the original post and lo and behold, the account was MSNBC PR with 29,000 followers versus MSNBC with 5 million or whatever it is. And my answer is this should be on the main MSNBC feed.
You're right.
Not a PR feed on the side, which is trying to shove it on page 29 of the newspaper so nobody ever sees it. So until they are vocal, I want them to be vocal, and Katie Tur should say, you know what? Some things were said. They should not have been said. She should be saying that on the air. They should have that clip there and it should be pinned to their damn profile. Then I will start to say, maybe they're taking it seriously.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right, Eric. And what I would say to you is that's what should happen. But even the fact that their actions took this step is a step in the right direction that I never thought MSNBC would do. I don't think anyone on this panel thought MSNBC would take. Of
course, they were going to do it. Wait, Joe, wait 6 months and see if they hire him back. I mean, this is the same thing they do over and over again. It's only to quell the immediate.
He'll get the tubing treatment. He'll be back by next.
What's the backfire? Who's watching MSNBC who would be mad about what he said? What was the backfire?
Just so everybody understands, and everyone already knows this. I'm a sissy Canadian, and I don't resort to violence unless it's for immediate.
No, you're Florida man now, dude. Well, you've got the Canada out of you, man. Well, you're hanging out with the alligators. I know what you are.
Immediate proximate to immediate proximate violence for self-defense purposes. None of this. Oh yeah, well, words are violence, so I get to fight words with violence. None of that. Period. Bankrupt the defund, bankrupt these legacy media outlets. Designate Antifa a terrorist organization. Designate some of these other organizations terrorist organizations, and treat them as such. And treat the people who are out there vocally supporting them as such as well. That's it. You can't fight with violence. That's fine. You can fight with the law. And then they're going to say, oh, well, he's weaponizing the system. So we get to kill you, but you don't get to go and then treat us like domestic terrorists that we are. So you can't fight back with violence. You can't fight back with law because then you become the authoritarian exploiting of the situation. So they want you dead. And so there are only so many ways to defend yourself without resorting to violence. And so one of them is treat them like domestic terrorist organizations that they are. And you have the justification to do that now. And it's not going to be a question of Viva's anti-free speech. No. Cheering for the murder of your political adversaries and murdering your political adversaries is domestic terrorism.
Yeah.
Well, I think we are like we're trapped. I want to be a prisoner of the moment and a prisoner of what's just happened right now, without looking at the full context of what's going on here in America, and to just pretend that this is only left-wing extremism committing these type of political violence, I think would be a disservice to pretend that we don't see this on both sides.
Give the examples of right-wing violence resulting in egregious violence or murder, Nate. Just one.
The Minnesota shooting that just happened last month, where the
you think that was right? The guy had a list. The guy had a list. The Tim Walz appointee.
The guy had a list.
He was right winger.
He had a list. But I understand it. It doesn't fit the narrative that you're trying to portray. But hold on. Let me finish, because it's hold on. No, we have the MAGA bomber, right? We have the MAGA bomber who set bombs around the country. And then we can go back. We can go back from MLK was killed. We have Harvey Milk, who was killed by a right winger.
Well, Nate, let's keep it this century.
I'll even keep it this century. I'll keep it this century with the Minnesota. With the, let's talk about the abortion doctors who were assassinated in a very similar way, right? Because people didn't like what they were doing. So we had the abortion doctors who were assassinated by right wingers. So what I mean is,
hold on, Nate. Let's visit the abortion doctors one real quickly, because that is a very specific issue, and literally, yes, typically somebody who is pro-life is on the right or is Republican, but is not necessarily a full-blown right winger. That's a single wedge issue type of situation. So I want to point out now that John Shapiro one might be good. I don't know. They're burning his mansion down. They like to bring up the Pelosi attack, but I think that was personal.
But what I want to say is that what happened to Charlie Kirk, I think, is indicative of the way the politics are going now. Because when you're Republican, it turned from, and I think the issue that I have with this is that the liberals, maybe 10 years ago, was with this stupid punch a Nazi. And they turned speech into violence, right? If you misgender me, it's violence. And that started building up to where now, like, for instance, I just had a debate with the transgender community, and I was telling them I believe women are women and men are men. And they started, and instead of getting understanding my points, they started saying I'm a transphobe, I'm a bad person, I'm this, to demonize me. And I think that's what's happening. So what I'm saying is that we should denounce all violence and understand that this lunatic did this by himself, just like the lunatic that shot the people in Minnesota did that by, just like the MAGA bomber who said bombs everybody, he did that by himself. But we now need to start understanding that there's something deeply concerning that's going on in the U.S. and hopefully what happened with Charlie Kirk can help everybody identify it, so we stop it instead of being more entrenched into this divisiveness. That's what.
One more thing I want to ask you, though, Nate. Too. I mean, this just because when we start jumping into whataboutism and both sidesism, we do want to look at a full picture. Like I'm trying to think, how many right wingers were celebrating the MAGA bomber? How many? Any accounts, generic, anonymous, or otherwise, were like, yeah, man. Good job.
Well, for the Minnesota one, they brought up a state senator who said something that was unkind about the Democrats. But the fact of the matter is, there are always going to be idiots celebrating the Democrats, the Republicans.
I agree, but I'm saying that the Republicans disavowed them immediately, right?
But again, just to say any one person who, what I'm saying is I'm agreeing with you guys in principle, but what I disagree with is pretending that this is only one side doing it.
Okay, so
I understand.
It's just disproportionately one side.
That makes sense. All right, so I'd agree with that.
Proportions make a difference.
And by the way,
proportions do make a difference. Yes.
Vance Belter was not right wing, and if you think he was, then we can disagree on that.
Just like this trans shooter wasn't. Just like the shooter wasn't left wing.
But
like, come on, really?
Yeah, really. The guy who was appointed by Tim Walz, who lives in Wisconsin, who had a number of people on the list, some of whom might have been left wing, was not.
All of them were left wing. There was no conservative on that list.
First of all, the argument will be what state are you in the first place? But set that aside. This was a Tim Walz appointing. So you
Tim Walz appointee with a whole Democrats with a whole list of Democrats targets, and we're going to say that doesn't matter.
In Minnesota, it depends on the state that he's in. But even set that aside, I disagree with you that he was. Okay, I'll concede for the sake of argument. There was 1 person on the right. A prominent figure saying this is what you get, or you better watch out, or yay, another Dem bites the dust. 0. So the whole thing is this guy could be a lone nut as well. But when he's a lone nut and he's being glamorized and lionized by an entire community, well, they've appropriated the lone nut. So and then the other thing is they use the lone nuts. The terrorist organizations use the mentally ill to carry out their terrorist attacks all the time. So it's even if he were a lone wolf, a totally psychopath. The entire community on Blue Sky. Oh, but it's not all of them. There's a few good ones. The dude who was asking the question to Charlie Kirk when he was killed put out a video saying, "Please, people, stop celebrating this," to his own people. So they made it their own, even if it wasn't theirs.
That's a problem. By the way, let me pause for a second because I like super chats. And because of Trump, there's no taxes on tips. So thank you very much, everybody. That counts for super chats. So this is a nice super chat to help tone it back a little. Thank you, gentlemen. You add to my life in a good way. And thank you very much. I do appreciate that, JH, very much.
I wish we had that no tax on tips in Sweden, but we don't.
Oh, come on. You're a wonderful country. Bernie Sanders holds you up.
Do you have
You are a paradise, according to Bernie Sanders.
You can keep Bernie Sanders. We don't want him. We have enough of his type over here as it is.
I'm pretty sure you guys got tax on tax in Sweden, right?
Yeah. When we pay our electricity bill, we have first the normal tax, and then we pay the consumer tax on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
So if we say free enterprise in Sweden, is that a contradiction in terms?
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, Nick, same thing in Canada. Like well, I mean, it's the same thing everywhere. You pay your income tax, and then you pay an additional 15% sales tax or harmonized sales tax on everything you buy after tax with your tax dollars, with your money.
I want to try to figure out how to turn legal fees into tips.
Dance.
They were saying
your bill is $1.
No,
but
you could get tips, but like it's anything above and beyond whatever you contracted for, right? So
hold on, we're talking tips, not bribes, right?
No, I know.
Like, all right, yeah. Your DUI, okay, your DUI is going to be a $1, and you can tip me the rest. Yeah.
Before we go to this Charlie Kirk discussion, I do want to say one thing. Please pray for this man's family, his wife and 2 children, because I know we were talking all this theory and all this crap, but that's a real family. And I can just imagine, like, even me, what's been happening with my wife, I can just imagine just losing her in a tragic moment like that. He was 31. He had 2 kids. I just know it. Just
they were there, Nate.
And so I shed a tear for that, and that's what moved me even more about this, because these are real lives, and to watch your father go through that, and to watch you lose your husband, it's horrible. It's horrible. Anybody celebrating that is a monster, and they should be beaten beyond extent. But we should really, 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 just pray for his family. And I hope I wish his best to his wife, and I hope she gets all the support. And I know she does, but this is just so horrible on that end. So I just want to acknowledge them and hopefully send them some goodwill.
By the way, while we're talking about families, I do have to give credit to Tyler Robinson's family for turning him in, and that has got to be one of the hardest things imaginable. From what I understand, his fathers and law enforcement are tied to law enforcement somehow for like 27 years. It was the minister who recognized the individual, talked to his friend, Marshall. They went to the father. They all approached the son. I mean, that has to be very hard to turn over your son and know that execution is a very, very distinct, real possibility. And I just want to acknowledge, because they are also victims potentially.
Yeah, families of criminals are victims, and the dad, as I understand, is a deputy sheriff. So, I mean, it's just, as a parent myself, I just can't even fathom that. Hey, look, guys, and everybody in the chat, I've got to run. But it's been a great conversation, and I'll look forward to talking about it more. I'm sure this is not the end.
Before you go, you want me to give you some good news? Like, totally un-Charlie Kirk related.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard this, but apparently Donald Trump added into the schedule of tips that are not taxed that passed in the big beautiful bill. He included in live streamers tips.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's what I just said, Joe.
Yeah, the IRS did it.
Super chat.
Yes, the IRS put out guidance for, but it's only up to 20.
I was dealing with my daughter. That's why I had my camera off. I didn't even hear anything.
Oh my God!
Hold on a second. I got some really good news. Eric, no tax on tips on super chats, Eric.
Right.
Yeah, up to $25,000. So if you make more than $25,000, everything after that you got to.
Don't worry, folks. I'm safe. Okay. I'm gonna get lots of right out here.
No, but you remember, like, some other live streamers like Nick. Remember, he was making like $25,000 a day.
I know Nick, man.
With the trials. So, and my God, yeah.
All right, guys. I'll catch you next time.
Thank you, Phil.
Yeah. And that's why, folks, you need to support my channel more, so I can migrate to the United States legally, so I can enjoy these freedoms.
Have you applied?
I don't want to be. Well,
have you applied?
If I have applied,
yeah, to try to come here. Have you
migrate?
applied? Because that'll be something that you could share and people could follow. The process. A lot of people don't know what it's like, what the process is, and that could be something you could be sharing on your channel that I think would be kind of cool. I'd be interested. I don't know about the rest of you, but I think that's interesting because we're so busy with illegals running across all the time. How about the legal process? What are you going through? What does it look like to do it the right way? So I was just asking in that for that.
Yeah, I mean, if my channel gets there when it comes to the economy behind it, I still need to make enough money for me to abandon my government pension in Sweden, which is above $3,000 a month, which I don't make at the moment.
Well, that's not a great argument against the taxation angle. A lot of people here would go, wait a minute, I want a pension. What are you talking about? I would love to have that. So that's
but then you would live in Sweden, and then you still have to pay tax on your pension and tax upon tax and everything. But yeah, sure. If I get there, I would love to get everybody through the process on how to legally migrate to the United States.
But I'm just saying, do it now. Like, here's my application. This is what I did. Here's what the response was. This is what's happening. I'm just saying, I haven't seen a lot.
I would keep it more quiet. Maybe I don't know how bad faith actors could try to interfere with that process if you're too transparent about it.
Oh, I'm not talking about doxing himself.
No. I'm just even saying someone will accuse him of a crime or something, and then there's bad. I had a lawyer on my lawyer a while back talking about the types of visas and whatnot. I'd say you're better off just get a lawyer to talk about it, to the options.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm sorry to bust on out of here, but my wife is under the weather and she really needs some help. Joe. So I'm gonna just fly out of here. But I look forward to seeing you guys next week, and thank God they caught his killer. And let's hope that this is a positive watershed. That's all I got. So Godspeed, you guys.
As always.
Yeah.
See ya. Right. Now, if I could mention two things about Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, when it comes, as I do labor law, and I have a somewhat understanding about American labor law, most people who are employees sign a code of conduct for their employer.
Yeah.
And if you have, you dancing around on TikTok cheering, there's not a union in the world that can save your job. And if they try, that union should not exist. And I say that as a union guy. The second part is,
if you're drawing attention to yourself, then you're kind of asking for it. Now, if you're saying things to friends and then they report you, that would be going too far. But if you're publicly saying blah 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 blah, now it's like you're a publisher. You're putting out a message. You've turned yourself into a public individual, so you can suffer the consequences of said message.
But don't forget,
and also I saw this.
Hold on, Nate, what?
When they
I saw this.
Okay, one of you.
Go ahead, Nick.
I saw this woman who was doing one of these TikTok dancers, and she was found out. Then her husband's business got review bound. Now, I'm not entirely happy about that. But then again, who is this woman thinking there would be no repercussions? Because apparently she was
screwed. So she's a moron. He's screwed. That's kind of hard.
She's a stay-at-home mom. And I'm like, how can you risk your support, your entire support, with your husband's business, with your kids' future, just because you're a R-word? Why don't just? I don't get it. Why think just 5 minutes before you record yourself doing stupid things? I know now I might not be the best, but then again, I'm okay.
I'm actually happy they do that because it tells me who they really are. It tells me who they really
are.
I would rather know that scum person who is saying they are happy with this. I want to know that person is that type of scum. Like I want to know that person is evil. And
that's my philosophy of pronouns in the bio.
Just say it. And I do
anyway.
believe, like what you're saying, there should be some consequences for the people who are saying it's disgusting stuff like that with the T-shirts and everything. Those people should definitely lose their jobs. It should have serious consequences civilly. But now, I want to be very clear. I'm a freedom of speech guy. They should be able to speak their nonsense, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't have some type of penalties civilly or socially for that.
This
nonsense.
is civil and social. They're not getting locked up.
Yeah,
they're not getting arrested.
If their public statements make it clear that they are unable to do their jobs, if they are pilots celebrating terrorism, if they are nurses celebrating murder,
especially
this is not cancel culture and confounding cancel culture with reasonable consequences of expression of who you are. You're not comparing comparables. Then the only question then is, and teachers, the only question then is, somebody working at Publix bagging bags, if he says yay to political violence, is that sufficiently related to his ability or inability to do his job that it's a logical nexus for the employer?
Well, I don't know if it's an embarrassment. Okay, if it's too strong, it's an embarrassment on the organization, and that Publix can lose money. Depending on where you are, there's at-will states, for hiring and firing. So
presume you have to fire with cause. Would that be a sufficient cause? I mean, the argument.
Well, if you're going to be losing business on account of this person, whatever they're doing, I don't know. It seems like you would have some rights to say, "Look, you're killing my damn business here. I can't have you. People won't shop when you're on shift."
Well, that's true, but then the question is going to be, to what extent an employer would abuse that. Oh, you made a tweet,
and that is the uncomfortable part. Oh, you're a known conservative, even though you're speaking
that's bad for business.
Absolutely reasonable all the time, and we've seen this, and that's where it gets creepy. And actually, I did want to talk about that because there is a website. I'm not going to share it, but somebody sent it to me, and they're collecting everybody, and this is the employer. It's quite literally a doxing site. Now, I don't see where they've given personal addresses and stuff, which is good. They're only doing employer and stuff like that. But still, there is a slippery slope because some things I think are objectively offensive, like, celebrating the assassination of somebody in our culture, at least, is absolutely unacceptable in every way. But then others would say, hey, because you're MAGA, I feel threatened. And blah, 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 blah. And that's when we start to get into that cancel culture problem. And that is where I have concern. Like I said,
you're making a slippery slope argument.
I think there is a slippery slope argument that has to be washed. And that's where I'm hoping there's enough of a chilling effect that people will chill the F out. And maybe just shut up, or maybe just think for a minute, or why don't you just tell it to your friends and don't turn on your phone and share it? I forget who it was. The guy who's on CNN.
Van Jones?
No, not Van Jones. The good one.
Scott
Jennings. Scott Jennings.
Yeah, Scott Jennings.
He really put it very well. He said, do me. He said, just before you do, he said, put your phone down and just stop. Just stop yourself from doing this. And I'm saying not only for offending all of us, but there's something that Dan Carlin calls digital stone. And I like that term because when you're a moron and 10 years from now, I dig up that tweet, like you mentioned earlier, David, it's forever. These things are forever. And when you make that tweet or you make that Facebook post, everybody's screenshotting it and they're sending it out there.
How do you guys feel? Because like this whole thing affected me in a different way because I felt that could have been any of us doing some show, doing something, because we all have hot takes. Like, my takes with the trans issues and DEI, are essentially the same as Charlie Kirk's takes, right? And we all do events and things of that nature. So when that happened, it was to me, it was kind of like, just for disagreeing with something that's really just minor stuff, right? Just disagreeing and saying I have a different viewpoint, that in some way triggers this type of response. And and even though I know I argued with Viva earlier about it, I feel compelled to say I honestly think you're right fundamentally, where the left demonizes any type of dissent into not only you're a bad person, you're killing my people, you should be like that type of thing. And I want to make it very clear. I think you're right in terms of that needs to stop and the left needs to own that. But now I'm just trying to figure out how to do that in a way where we don't sacrifice the rights we have to, you know what I'm saying? So I want to make it very clear. I don't disagree with you, Viva. I just think there's a better way to coach it so we don't restrict everyone's rights. You know what I mean?
And this super chat's totally related to what we're saying. So I'm just, going on with it. It's, the question about the First Amendment and look, on the right, we typically are the right is typically very First Amendment oriented and anti-cancel culture. And that question starts to come in. What is cancel culture? When does it become cancel culture? When is it appropriate? And I think that's a line that has to always be explored diligently before you go too far.
The unpopular take, you bring it back up just because it's going to be relevant. It's not an unpopular take. It's a mischaracterization. Celebrating death is different than celebrating murder. So celebrating a hurricane is different than celebrating a crime. And so arguably at some point, celebrating murder is encouraging murder, depending on how you do it. You want to
but some people might make that argument when people, the leadership of Hamas was just taken out not long ago, and there are many people who are pleased with that. When bin Laden was taken out, we're celebrating now. Well, people say no, that's justice to people, but again, that's what I'm saying. You got to break down every single thing and really look at it.
Again, celebrating a crime is different than celebrating something which is not a crime. And so whether or not the celebrating a crime is encouraging or inciting more crime is the issue. But no, celebrating the killing of a terrorist in the context of a war, I think it's wrong regardless. I mean, you can be relieved that a terrorist is dead, but celebrating it just makes you look like a rabid animal as well. But celebrating death is different than celebrating murder, and that's what. Well,
I don't even think you should celebrate death. Most of the time you're celebrating life. If you're talking about that end of it, it's like somebody died and you're celebrating them to remember them. I don't know if they're celebrating the death.
So some people were throwing this in my face about like Rittenhouse. Oh, you celebrated Rittenhouse when he killed those people. I'm like, I didn't celebrate Rittenhouse for killing those people. I celebrated Rittenhouse because I believed that he did not commit a crime and he was being railroaded because
you're celebrating justice,
right?
You're celebrating justice, not him.
Now those people died, and me and Viva, we did a live stream together. We both said, and me and you, Eric, we talked about it too, where it was where we, of course, we're sad that the people died, but in the circumstances in which they died, we understood that there was a different meaning to it. So I don't want to have a blanket policy where where it's just like all deaths can never be celebrated, because again, we do in some instances, but I think in this instance, if you look at the context, and that's what I keep saying, go back to the context. In this context, this is somebody who literally did everything right. You tell we say, if you have an opinion, this is the place you go to argue those opinions.
Literally a school where thoughts are supposed to be,
so
argued out.
He goes to that place and he puts a mic up and says, anybody who disagrees with my takes, spell it out, and then argues with the person live, right? Live. That's what we encourage. That's what we say do. And he went and did that, and that's what he was executed for. And I think that's the issue that we really need to hold on to, is that free speech I want to continue. I want to continue that. Prove me wrong. I don't care who's doing it, left or right, but I don't want that to be harmed. And I feel like that may be harmed a little bit in this exercise with what happened with Charlie.
And by the way, don't misinterpret to say that I'm thrilled about Hamas. I'm saying that celebrating killing period is different parameters to a lot of different situations. So I always get so annoyed when I get that little correction. It's like,
well, we added context to the situation.
It was what did Mark Twain say? I've never cheered a man's death, but I've read some obituaries with great delights. Like I wouldn't have cheered Osama bin Laden's death either, because I think it lowers you and debases you as a human. But I'm not going to mourn the death of a known confirmed terrorist. I'm not going to mourn the death of those guys who were, one of whom was a convicted pedophile in the Rittenhouse case, who got exactly what, I'm not saying he deserved, but certainly got what he was asking for by trying to beat the shit out of a guy carrying a gun for no better reason. I'm not gonna cry too hard for a pedophile who gets killed. I agree with all that. I'm not going to celebrate it.
I agree with that, but I'm also not going to go get free fries to see Bundy fry. Even though Ted Bundy was an absolute monster and needed to be executed, that to me is more of a relief or an end to something, not something necessarily to cheer or celebrate, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And before I have to leave, because I'm in Utah now. In
You are in
Springfield.
Utah.
You're in Utah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
was
am in Springfield.
Okay, what are you doing out there?
Currently, I just had breakfast at a motorcycle cafe in Springfield. And I'll be heading up to Dani An soon and visit there. But before I do that, yesterday I was a hero. Today I am back to being a communist whore, apparently, because
Okay.
The European Union minority party wanted to hold a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk in the European Parliament.
And they said no.
Yes, because of procedure and protocol.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to explain that to a bunch of people. The concrete bureaucracy that the European Parliament is, I think people don't know exactly to what extent, because they didn't seek support for it beforehand. They brought it up in session. So it was, of course, voted down. And behind that protocol is to be honored with a moment of silence. The main criteria: European Union citizen or head of state. The exceptions are mass events like the Indonesian tsunami, 9/11, stuff like that. Also, it has been later years, there has been a bit of liberalization of that rule, but it still has to go under the rule of a mass event. You cannot just ask for a moment of silence for an individual, as they did with Charlie Kirk. Had they applied for beforehand for Charlie Kirk and other victims of violence against First Amendment speech, which we also have that kind of in the European Union, then it might have had a chance of success. Now it didn't, because they asked for an individual who wasn't a European citizen or a head of state. And I tried to explain that in different kind of words, but apparently I'm a communist whore for that.
I can understand that if there's a dead set policy that says, hey, we're not going to do a moment of silence for anybody. Like you said, and that's a basic policy, because there are other people who are killed who have a deep meaning to their cultures and their country and stuff that maybe will be ignored too. So that's not completely unfair.
They
had seven AFD members die. If they do a moment of silence for all of them, I mean, the Parliament might never get back to session.
Exactly. Yeah, and in this case, the European far right is doing a PR stunt about it. So I call them out of it. Why do you dishonor Charlie Kirk's memory by not following protocol and then making a PR stunt out of it? And now, of course, I'm a communist whore again. But that's okay. Yes. Yesterday, I was basically a Nazi for expressing my sadness over Charlie Kirk. So I'm kind of used to switching.
Before I leave, I do want to ask everybody here about South Park removing the Charlie Kirk episode. Now, Charlie said he loved the episode.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, I believe Charlie would have wanted that episode to stay up, because that's what he was about. He was about speaking your mind and saying, like, if you disagree, show me you disagree. Do that. So I don't know what, but
I haven't seen the episode, so it's hard for me to say. I kind of wish that I did. I know that Charlie, I know he responded. I know he responded and laughed about it, but it could also be that Charlie Kirk was a very savvy operator who would know, hey, if they come at you, own it, don't go against it, and laugh with it. So I don't know. I wish I had seen it.
I think it's just antithetical to what he actually stood for. He stood for, yes, disagreement, putting this out. And for them to censor it, I think it kind of cuts to what he was like. To me, it shows that they really didn't understand Charlie Kirk's message. Even to make fun of it, his message was one of everybody should be able to speak their mind and disagree. And
But
that's what I think they miss.
That might have been the network and not the creators, though. I
That's
don't know
true.
if they have completely. For example, they removed any episode dealing with Islam. Again, the network forced it, but at the same token, there's one person they never made fun of, or two people I can name they never made fun of, and that was Obama and Biden. So, South Park is known for their free speech views and how creative they are, but they're a little bit selective on the universality of their mockery.
If the rationale for taking it down is that it somehow played a role in the demonization of Charlie, that would be the only reason to take it down. But if that's the case, then they know what they were doing when they did the episode with Trump as well. So there's no good reason to take it down. It's not because someone does something stupid that you go down and take down. How many episodes of The Simpsons involving celebrities that might have met violent demises? You're not going to take them all down.
But they'll take out Abu episodes, every one of them, because he's an Indian.
Well, that's a different question. But I guess we're going to end it because I got to go too.
All right, well, we'll end with this super chat real quickly. Wow. David is correct. People who celebrate what happened to Gaddafi or a storm hitting North Carolina are same people celebrating what happened to Charlie. I didn't cheer or mourn for OBL. I would have preferred a public trial.
I'm not sure because the type of person who cheer now over Charlie Kirk are roughly the same type of people who are idolizing Luigi Mangione. So
there were parallels.
Yeah,
I can see your argument on that. Let me check and see if there's any Rumble rants real quickly before. Yes, there is a Rumble rant. Perhaps helpful. While there was one who turned to violence at the meeting, there were several thousand at the meeting willing to debate. Okay, well, he wasn't at the meeting; he was on a roof.
Well, and also it only takes one person to ruin everything for everybody. So that's the problem. They're just the secure. I mean, it's Monday morning quarterback, but it's like this was Butler, Pennsylvania, as though nobody learned anything from Butler, Pennsylvania. He's not the president, but still, you don't have to go out there naked to a crowd of people who may not like you.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would have foreseen this. It's just.
Well, there are signs. I mean, he's not the first person who had incident. I know Ben Shapiro couldn't get security. This goes all the way back to Milo Yiannopoulos not being able to get security. Sean Spicer put it really well when Trump first term ended or whatever. He went to like 12 or more campuses and is always terrified for being on the campuses. So this has been going on and building and building and building and building. I'm just hoping that this stops it, but I'm also worried that the universities might now shut down any kind of free speech influx from like, oh, you're a conservative. Well, we can't secure you. So good. We'll just shut down your speech for good. So that
ultimate heckler's veto.
Ultimate
heckler's veto, right?
Exactly. Yes. And then that would mean that they won, and that is what really is.
Yeah, I mean,
terrible.
I said this 20 years ago or something. I will repeat it. The worst thing, what terrorist hates, is our freedom. So either effect that makes us take self-censor, it's a win for them. So grab a cigar if you have them and enjoy them. Grab a champagne if you have it and enjoy it. Whatever, and speak your mind. Because we can't just turn away from it. Because then they will win.
Unfortunately, I have a hard out right now.
Yeah,
so
we all
everybody.
Everybody, thank you so much. I've got a show at 5:30 today. America's Untold Stories. I guarantee we will be talking about this topic. Nate, you real quick before you go, you got anything?
Me and Erica are reacting to all of the reactions about the Charlie Kirk stuff, and we're going to do a little deeper dive. Again, some of the stuff is dated because so I'm redoing that. Also, I have a whole bunch of videos that are coming out now. Unfortunately, so I'm going through this wild little thing where I'm being review bombed by the trans community because I had the balls to go over there and debate them in their own communities and essentially tell them men are men, women are women, and they shouldn't be playing together at the most elite level of sports. So that makes me a bigot and all this other stuff. So you can go see all that. And but I, like all the people here say, we are honestly looking for the truth. And even though we're looking from it out from one particular end, that doesn't mean that we should be silenced. And I'm with everyone's in agreement. This was horrible, and hopefully it doesn't stop us from getting the message out, because they fear the message, and that's the most important thing. As long as we get the message out, then they can't stop us. So Charlie Kirk's message is not going to die. It's going to live forever, because we're going to continue to push it. So.
All right. Well, Nate, thank you so much as always. And we'll be talking offline. Sure. Nick, anything else before you head out?
I have my side channel, Nick Staro's Road Trip, where you can watch some of the videos I've taken about my trip in Utah, down to Archer National Park and Zion and stuff like that.
Perfect. Now, David, what do you have coming
I'm
up?
live at 3:00 on Rumble, so I'll see everybody soon.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much. We deeply appreciate it. And get back to maybe some normal law topics next week, but we can't ignore this. This is the story, and it is what it is. And thank you all for joining. And please comment below whatever your thoughts are on the subject. We understand not everybody's going to agree with every opinion. There's a lot of opinions and feelings to get out. So see you next episode.
Rock on.